Hi, welcome. Today we've got Quintin Reep, 2020 outfielder, former Appalachian Aces player with Josh Kirkendall and the guys, currently playing at Fairmont State University. Appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about yourself, man.
I'm a 5'11" outfielder from Bridgeport High School. I played for the Appalachian Aces, like you said, and that's about it.
Sure. So tell me a little bit about your family. You got brothers, sisters. What's your family like?
Got one sister, mom and dad, of course, but that's about it.
Yeah. So I know your dad played with your dad in high school. Was an outstanding player. Played at WVU. One of the best players of our era. So it's kind of cool having a baseball dad that's already kind of been down this road before.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's tough listening to him every day because the worst thing about him is he's always right. Like, I mean, you know, a lot. I've been lucky with him for sure, but with all the great knowledge and all that, but I mean, it's surrounded by really good coaches, so.
Sure. So what are your measurables? What are some of the things that coaches came to see you play for? Because a lot of times, you got to have something to share with a coach to get them to come see you play. What were some of those key measurables you think that you brought to the table?
I feel like brought a lot of energy in the dugout. I mean, I've always been big on that. I ran a 6'9", 60. Exit velo was like 90 to 92 usually.
You say that like it's only like 90, 92. That's getting it done, man.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to like yeah, but my arm velo was like 80, 82, 83 maybe.
Okay.
That's about like sitting. I mean,
so a lot of times, like in the recruiting process, there's you kind of have those highs where you get that first phone call from a coach or something, and then there's a lot of lows. Tell me about some of the low times and whether you questioned whether your abilities or whether you can make it to the next level, and how'd you get through that?
I mean, I'd say the lowest points like whenever you're like, you really want to go to this one target school and they're not reaching out to you. And like I remember I took some of your classes that really helped me a lot and just taught me to reach out to them or go to a camp they had. You got to be proactive. You can't just sit there and wait for them to come to you. That's not how it always works.
So there's
more to it.
Yeah, so a lot of times players and parents don't know. There's a lot more no's in this process than there are yeses. You get turned down a lot more than, hopefully to get to that one yes.
Mm-hmm.
So what about some of the highs? When you look back on it, what were some of those times where, you got off the phone or you got done with a game or something? You're like, yeah, this is it. I'm doing this.
I'd say either the best part is either like your first phone call or after you have a good game and a college scout comes up to you and talks to you, they're interested in you, they want you to come visit or whatnot. That's probably the best feeling, I'd say, throughout the whole process.
Kind of feel like you belong, right? All this time you're trying to think about, hey.
Like you've been, like all your work, you've been doing something correctly, it's paying off a little bit, but just a little taste of it, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. So when you look back on it, what can you name 2 or 3 things that you think were instrumental in ending up there at Fairmont? Were there a few things that you did that you might share with future players?
The biggest things for me were the location. It's 20, 25 minutes from my house. I wanted to be close to home. It's very affordable. It's a good school. Baseball program's good. That was a deal breaker for me. That was it.
Sure. What about recruiting actions? What were some of the things you did on the recruiting side to kind of make that happen? How did you get that link to Fairmont or some of the other schools that you were interested in?
I remember I went to a camp in the winter. I think it was fall or winter, but I did really well. I stuck out. ran a good 60, threw well, hit well, and they approached me after the camp and they were like, we're interested in you. We want you to come visit. But that was pretty much what happened.
So is that something you would recommend to younger players, is like going to like the actual college camps of the
Yeah,
schools that are on
go
their
to the camp.
list?
That's where you want to go. I mean, I feel like there's no better opportunity to get right in front of them. I mean, you got to stick out though, because there's going to be other kids there, usually that are good. But I mean, you gotta, you gotta be there, ready to go.
So for those who maybe have not gone to a college camp, what's the agenda? What takes place there?
Well, you'll show up, you'll stretch, you'll throw, you'll run a 60, and then you'll hit. I mean, that's a lot of times what'll happen. I mean, sometimes you'll do like a scrimmage, you'll split teams up, see how you are live against live arms, and other way,
So what about during the camp? Do you get much interaction with the coaches, or are they accessible there? Do you get a little chit chat from time to time?
I mean, you could, but I mean, I never really went out of my way like while I was there to go talk to them. I just was focused on doing my thing, and if they wanted to approach me after, you know, that's
Sure. So as you look back on your recruiting journey, what do you think was the hardest part?
um probably the hardest thing was, like I said earlier, just like the lows, just like wanting that one school to contact you and they're not, and it's just tough. I mean, it's just tough taking that, you know. I mean, especially if they don't. I mean, like not every like there's. It's not necessarily that you're not good enough to play there. Sometimes it's just like it's not a good fit for them. You know. I mean, just
Sure,
doesn't always like work out, so to say.
they may be full of outfielders. They
Right.
just picked up one
Yeah.
earlier, or last year they got two, and
Hmm.
they've got like really good juniors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so timing
Or
plays a big role.
yeah, or like how they're giving players an extra COVID year. I mean, they got guys stacked up for that. I mean, that's just how it is right now.
Sure, sure. So as you look back, were there some mistakes you made in the recruiting process that you'd warn other players maybe not to make?
Yeah, early on, my freshman sophomore year, I was not proactive at all with the like as far as like sending emails and reaching out to coaches. I just was kind of like getting the vision that it was they'll come to me, but I mean it's not the case. You gotta reach out to them, and I feel like that'll just I mean that shows them that you want to be there. I mean that'll just like I feel like that's a direct correlation to the field, you know.
So how old were you when you actually started? And do you remember what some of the first things you did?
I remember as soon as I took your recruiting classes, I started sending emails and reaching out to coaches, just stuff like that, going to camps. I mean, I was already going to camps before, but like I think I started going to camps when I was a freshman, a PBR event. But I mean, I really started sending emails and reaching out as a junior. So
Sure. What about campus visits? Were you able to get on campuses? I know your recruiting process took place a little bit before COVID, but how were you able to get on campuses, and how big a deal is that for players in making that decision?
it is. Well, crazy thing is, I never even got to visit Fairmont. Like they recruited me late and they shut things down because of COVID. They had to shut the campus down. I never even actually got to visit the campus, but I mean, I had been on Fairmont's campus so many times because it's close to my house. I knew what I was getting, you know. But I mean, all the other schools that recruited me, I did. I went and visited, uh, saw the campus, the dorms, ate lunch with the coaches, and all that stuff. That's kind of what to expect under normal circumstances. But
So what does that help? So a coach shows some interest, asks you to come on a visit. On that ride home from each of those schools, what did you know afterwards? Did you have a sense of, hey, this could be a place, or were you able to go, oh, I can scratch this one off, or this one's a maybe?
mhm.
What kind of sense did you have driving home?
Well, I mean, me and my dad, like as soon as our visit, I always talk to him, be like, well, I mean, I mean, is this like reasonable as far as price, how far away it is, just stuff like that. I mean, like before even like showing more interest back into them. I mean, like just think about if it's even realistic, like because you don't want to lead the college coach on. So I mean, because you wouldn't want that doing that to you. So I mean, it's
So what's the communication like on one of those visits? Is a coach taking you around? Do you have a one-on-one with the coaches there? What's that like?
um sometimes it is one of the coaches taking you around, but I know a couple visits I had, they had like upperclassmen, like players take me around into the dorms and the uh residence halls and all that stuff in the classrooms. So I mean, it's just a little bit different each college, but
What kind of insights did you get with having a player take you around? Was that a little bit different? Were you able to kind of ask them some
yeah,
inside baseball stuff?
yeah, it was. Yeah. I mean, because I mean, I shouldn't even say it's a lot of a different perspective than a coach, so to say. So, I mean, their perspective on the school is going to be completely different than the coach. So,
So, what about the role of the travel coaches in your recruiting process? What exactly did they do?
I mean, they played a huge role as like just being honest with you as far as like what level you can play at, what you need to do to get better to play at the level you want to play at. I mean, I've been lucky with guys like my dad, Josh Kirkendall, and all those other guys. I mean, they've played a huge role in my process. So
Were those guys able to make phone calls on your behalf or give references to coaches and that kind of thing? Did that help you like actually make connections with some schools?
yeah, definitely. I mean, they always went to bat for me. I mean,
So outside of the coaches, who were some of the influential people in your recruiting process?
just my mom, my dad, sister, just family members, friends. I mean, people who are supporting me. Just trying to get better, make the best decisions I can, all that stuff. So
It takes a lot for a family, like a lot of weekends going away, traveling,
it does.
hotels, and that kind
Yeah,
of stuff. It becomes a
yeah,
family effort.
yeah. I mean, it does.
So talk to me about recruiting videos. Did you use recruiting videos and was that helpful at all in the recruiting process with allowing coaches to be able to see you?
I did, yeah. Like I said earlier, I did one through you, the skills video. Um, Whenever a coach wanted film, I mean, I just send that video to them, and there it was. I mean, that's all I had to do, and they'd give me their feedback, and so
Good. What about social media? Did you have a Twitter page, Instagram? Did you post stuff on there? Was that helpful?
I do have a Twitter, but I never was really. I will say this: I was never good about using my Twitter to promote myself. But I mean, that's something looking back I should have definitely done is promote myself because I mean I see a lot of guys on Twitter doing that and they get a lot of looks from coaches, which is good. But
So walk me through the communication process. So you're sending some emails out, maybe you go to a camp. How does I know you talk with numerous different coaches. How did that process normally start? Did they reach out directly to you? Did they call Josh Kuykendall? They talk to your dad and say, "Hey, call me back at this time." Was it email, text? How did the communication process start? And then what did it turn into?
I mean, I had a couple times. I think the first college that ever like was interested in me saw me on PBR. Um, I mean that was pretty cool, but uh, a lot of times coaches would come watch me and then they just talk to me right after the game if I played well, and they wanted me to come visit, and you know what I mean. That was usually what happened.
So walk me through one of those scenarios. You're done with the game. You're putting your stuff in the bag. You're tired. You're heading out to the car, and like someone taps you on the
Yeah,
shoulder. How's that work?
yeah. I mean, if you play a good game, I mean, see a scout over there, just waiting. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe they'll come talk to you. It's a pretty cool feeling. But I mean, you're just mentally prepare yourself to go over there and talk to him. You never know who he's going to be talking to. So
So what kind of how's that conversation go? Are they just kind of chit chatting, or are they just introducing themselves? Was that the first time you maybe had ever talked to them?
I feel like sometimes we'll just get straight to business, but like a lot of times they'll just try to make you feel comfortable. It's like that with phone calls too. I noticed like the first phone calls are just trying to make you feel comfortable because they know you're nervous. Uh, Especially your first few phone calls are pretty nerve-wracking, but I mean,
When you were talking with schools, was it normally like a position coach, a recruiting coordinator? Was it the head coach you talked to? What was the progression there?
um, I had a little bit of everything. I mean, sometimes the head coach reached out to me, the assistant, and then sometimes it was the recruiting coordinator. It just kind of depended.
Sure. So as you look back, as far as understanding the process and the rules and stuff, would you say you had a really good understanding of how it all worked, or would you say that's something that guys need to kind of reach out and try to do some research on to make sure you're aware of how the process works?
I feel like I had a pretty decent idea of what was like all the rules and what was going on as far as the recruiting game. Um, I mean, I wish I was a little bit more educated on it. I mean, I feel like I knew what was going on for the most part, though, which is good, and it helped
Yeah,
me.
it's nice. I mean, having your dad having played, I mean, it's nice having that kind of knowledge,
Yeah,
in the car
it
with
is.
you on the way and
Yeah.
coming home for sure. So talk to me about the travel teams you played on, and how did you pick those travel teams? How did you decide where you were going to play summer ball? Because that's a pretty big decision.
It is. I played for the Aces the past 3 years. I thought it was just a good decision because of all the exposure. Josh was doing the best he could to get us in front of coaches and best coaches he could put us with the best coaches and make the players progress. I mean, that was his job and he did a good job of it, I feel like.
So, tell me a little bit about the schedule you played, where maybe some of the campuses or do you remember some of the events that you did well at, and did that turn into some results of some college coaches looking at you?
It did, yeah. I remember a couple schools up in Pennsylvania when we played up in there. They were came after the game and uh, came up to me directly. Um, in Ohio, that happened a few times too. But I mean, those are the two states we really went to were Ohio and Pennsylvania. So
Sure, sure. So maybe there's a young middle school freshman, sophomore out there. What kind of advice would you have for them as they kind of start this process? Because I mean, you're on the other side now. You've made it. You're a college baseball player. You'll have that forever now. What advice do you have for them as they kind of start the process?
I just say be proactive. I mean, I know it's tough right now with COVID and coaches can't get out, and I mean, maybe you might not be able to play. I mean, send emails, send film of what you have. Just be proactive. I mean, if I was a coach, I mean, I mean, that's a good sign. If a kid like really wants to come play, he's doing whatever he can in his power to reach out to you. I mean, that's a big deal.
Sure. So what's it like there in the fall? So now you're on campus. You've made your decision. I mean, you're on the other side of this. You're showing up for classes. How eye-opening was like fall practices and the weightlifting and the amount of time you have to spend now at the craft?
Yeah, it's a lot of time. I mean, like my fall semester, we didn't really get to do any weightlifting because of COVID. I mean, they were pretty strict about it, but I know we will get into a weightlifting program during the season. But I mean, usually you'll do weightlifting before school and then go to your classes, and then after you'll have a actual like baseball practice. And I mean, it's pretty intense. It's college baseball, man. It's no joke. So
So what's it like when you get there? I mean, yeah, I mean, you've played baseball, travel baseball at a pretty high level now. But now you've got guys that are like, 4 years older, young men now. What's it like facing some of those guys?
I mean, it's tough. They're a lot bigger and stronger, but I mean, just got to get in the weight room and get stronger. I think the older guys are a good thing. It makes you push yourself and get to where they're at an earlier stage, I'd say. But
for sure. So today, a lot of the recruiting is based on measurables, like, hey, what your 60 time is, what advice do you have for guys who are younger, who maybe don't have those measurables and they're wanting to try to start this recruiting process?
I just say reach out. Let them know, keep them updated how you need to get your measurables up eventually. That's one thing that has to come up, But if you don't have the measurables at the moment, I'd say just keep in contact with them, let them know you're there, and you want to play. Just keep sending them film, I'd say.
Tell me about when did the coach from Fairmont talk to you, and how did he ask you to play? What was that like? Was that on a phone call? Was that in person? How did that interaction happen?
Like I said, I was at a camp, I think in the fall or the winter, I can't really remember, but I did really well. I stuck out. He came up to me and he was like, "We want you to come visit. We're very interested in you, and I'll keep in touch with you." And then, I think maybe a month or two later, he called me and we talked, and he was like, then we just set up a date to come visit. And that's what happened.
So you're done with that conversation. You've kind of made that decision. What's that feeling like? Is the weight kind of off your shoulders? What's the conversation like with mom and dad after you made that decision?
It's a cool feeling. It's a lot of stress off you, because I remember I was very stressed out about where I wanted to go. Play better in the summer just because I feel like all I had to do was just go up there and just play. I wasn't really worried about coaches being there and watching me, the whole process was out of the way. I could just go have fun, play summer ball.
Sure. So what's some of your goals there at Fairmont now that you're on the other side? What goals do you have for yourself?
Obviously grades come first, maintain a high GPA, get a degree. I hope to get on the field next year, get some time. I'm getting redshirted this year. But that's my goals as of right now.
How does that conversation, the red shirt, is that the coach comes and talks to you about that? Is it just basically a numbers game at this point? What's that conversation like?
Well, he has at the end of fall ball, he'll have each player come in and he'll tell you, his expectations and what they're going to do with you this fall. They told me they were going to redshirt me. I was completely okay with that, honestly. I didn't feel it. I didn't play well in the fall. I wasn't ready for the spring. So, that's a year for me to prepare. So I honestly think I'll benefit from it. So I'm not at all upset with it.
Good. So that comes out of that post-fall meeting?
Right, yeah.
So what are the implications of that for guys who don't know what a red shirt is?
You'll sit out a year. At least at Fairmont, you'll go to all the home games, just not the away games. You'll practice with the team. This is it's a good chance for you to get stronger, work on your game, and just be prepared for the next fall.
And for other players out there who may not be familiar, this is a pretty common. There's multiple guys that redshirt every year, so this is just part of that roster management and trying to line guys up to where you can maximize the 4 years that you have to play. So if they can push you 1 year and get 4 good years, it's a pretty common tool to manage those rosters. Sure.
Yeah.
Great. Quintin Reep, 2020 outfielder, currently playing at Fairmont State University. Buddy, I appreciate you spending some time and reaching back and sharing with some of the younger players about your recruiting journey and what they should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.